people? This is Keegan here. Keegan, KWTV, here to review a video talking about Kevin Samuels. It's more or less associating Kevin Samuels by proxy or guilty by association that he is a supporter of abuse and domestic abuse. I think it's a bit of a reach, but in this video, we're going to kind of go in a more critical approach to actually dispel this, because I think it's a bit of a reach. Now this video actually comes to a big surprise to me. The creator of the video, Deadbeat Dads, he makes some pretty good content. He makes some he has some really good perspectives when he talks about manhood and, dispelling some of these problematic stereotypes that men has to go through to show their manhood. And I think that's, where he gets the best of his advice or his perspectives. Also, he does a lot of things with finance as well. I think that's how he started off. But nonetheless, this isn't like a diss to him. This is more or less of a critical analysis and just, a more in-depth view of this and more of a critique of his video. Again, no hate, but I think this is a very interesting topic to talk about, and more or less how this information was presented. It just fueled the fire of more hate within the Black community, which is problematic. And ultimately speaking, unknowingly, he creates more hate and more people to hate each other, Black men, Black women, to hate each other, inadvertently misrepresenting this topic. But let's go ahead and look at it.
The manosphere supports and promotes violence against women.
That escalated quickly.
Kevin Samuels is a part of the manosphere, so he is the subject. First, we're going to define the word influence. Influence is a noun, and it is defined as the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. So let's move over to the negromanosphere.com. This website was promoted by Kevin Samuels on the Joe Budden podcast.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He runs a website called the Negro Manosphere. And over there is a collective of Black men who are always talking about, things that are important to us.
On this website, there's an article titled Abuse versus Punishment. This was written by Donovan Sharp. Abuse versus Punishment. It was written by Donovan Sharp, and that is Donovan right there sitting next to Kevin Samuels. That is Donovan sitting next to Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels is an image consultant, so-called image consultant, who is very aware of his image and his likeness and who he associates with. Here he is sitting with Donovan Sharp. So what did Donovan Sharp say about abuse and punishment? I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. I'm not going to read the whole.
Now, the first thing is, biggest glaring part is he didn't read the whole article. Now, the funny thing is this originally came up in a post that was actually removed by YouTube that he had made earlier about Kevin Samuels. But it was funny because he mentioned the article. I actually went to read it. And in the beginning of the article, it actually states a disclaimer talking about, that they don't support, and no one of the Negro Manosphere supports abuse or advocates of that nature. And even in the article later, it actually says that nature and reiterates, don't abuse your ladies or nothing like that. That's the tough pill to swallow, knowing, especially if he says that he's read it and leaving those key details out. It's almost like you will want people to believe, you will want people to not know that as a vital piece of information. It's like purposely misleading or misinformed.
Disclaimer: negromansop here.com, its writers, or its editor do not endorse, justify, or advocate the physical or mental abuse of females in any capacity. This post is intended to explore the nuances and psychological effects of abusive and punishment both verbally and physically. Back in February, I did a podcast on why women tend to stay with abusive men. Today I'm going to talk about the difference between abuse and punishment, and why reprimanding a woman not only works within the context of a sexual relationship, but also helps her to be a better woman.
Women respect abusive men infinitely more than non-abusive men. Women respect abusive men infinitely more than non-abusive men. This is what Donovan Sharp said. He is sitting next to Kevin Samuels. This website is owned by O'Shea Duke. And let me read this last paragraph before I continue. It says, as far as men who are actual abusers, they get more sex, loyalty, and favorable treatment from their women. They know that if they cross the line, she's getting a left cross to the jaw. Right or wrong, moral or immoral, this is how women are. Respect is one of the most important elements when it comes to arousal and loyalty. For better or worse, men who put their hands on women get more respect than men who don't. This is on the negromanosphere.com. This was written by Donovan Sharp. Donovan Sharp is sitting next to Kevin Samuels.
Now, the funny thing is like, Kevin Samuels did not write this article. It was written by a guy named Donovan Sharp. Now, the funny thing is, if you scroll down to the bottom, that would have been more fodder that you could use to actually paint him as a kind of a jerk. I mean, he is a self-proclaimed sexist, and that would have been fun to show in your video.
Donovan is a sexist son of a bitch who objectifies women by keeping them on their toes, their backs, and their knees where they belong.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He runs a website called the Manosphere.
Studies have been done. You can Google it for yourself. The manosphere is getting more toxic as angry men join the incels. What they are saying is you have men who are upset because they have been divorced or they're paying child support. They are joining with the men who have not had any success with women. So you have the incels joining with the angry men to create this manosphere.
Now, I think this is like a general misconception that people have about the manosphere. Now, again, I'm not a part of the manosphere or like subscribe to, everything that they say. Some stuff they say makes sense. But again, I'm not about that misogyny and all that stuff. But I think people get the whole idea of manosphere and kind of attribute it to the most popular or the more louder of the different groups that are in this, web of, manosphere. Now, manosphere is kind of like saying feminism, a womansphere, and there's a difference between a womanist and a feminist. Well, some people believe there's not really that much of a difference between the two. But anyway, that's another topic. But anyway, the point is, incels are a part of the manosphere, but do not represent the entire manosphere or the people who think of it. This gentleman here, he actually is going to talk about a little bit more about incels or MGTOW 2.0. He does a great job at actually analyzing and breaking down the kind of, off branches that led up to this type of people. I definitely tell you to check it out. It's a really good video. But let's listen to how he explains it.
Call me cucks and simps, and you can check out my YouTube videos if you search on MGTOW, and you can see that these guys are just pathetic, okay? Because what happened here was you had guys that actually had a point and were actually improving themselves, and then you had a lot of complainers and whiners and guys that would be considered incel, which we'll talk about in a bit, here in this MGTOW 2.0, where they no longer were about improving themselves, even though they pretended. They completely rejected women. They, it favored sex dolls and actually promote sex dolls currently, okay? And it's really the victim mindset, right? This was more of an empowerment mindset, but this became the victim mindset where they're like, okay, the society and women and all these things, they did shit to me, and fuck these guys. I'm just going to complain all the time and not really improve my life, okay? And it's become very much like a cult, right? Because this philosophy is really just being echoed over and over again. And there's some, it basically is split into like the angry guys that have gone through divorce and have had bad experiences, right? And these guys actually have some legitimate gripes, and then a bunch of young kids that are just joining this because they can't thrive, they can't get laid, and so they're grouping up with these old men that are bitter, and it's just a bad combination, and it has become less of a philosophy and more of a community, and it's not good. Okay, so anyway, that's where that came from.
Now, let's go to the big infamous clip that went viral from Kevin Samuels. Now, the funny part is a lot of people are, hung up on the fact that he asked a man his penis size. But if you actually listen to the whole interview, he actually is having a conversation with an incel and actually is breaking down the flaws and fallacies of an incel. I mean, to be quite frank, he is dissing this incel. Now, if you were to say he's an incel or is a part of incel, why would he then quote, I guess, publicly diss a person he claims to be a part of? Doesn't make any sense. More or less, he's more or less bringing advocacy to these type of people and actually giving constructive criticism, harsh constructive criticism, to actually get them from not being incel to not becoming the Elliot Rodgers. Because if you actually listen to the whole thing,
I just been getting bad energy from women. I don't know what it is. I
How
don't
old
know
are
if I like, huh?
How old are you?
20.
Your age?
I'm 20 years old.
20.
Yep.
Are you in college?
Yeah, I'm in community college.
When's the last time you had a girlfriend?
I never had a legit girlfriend.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah.
You say you've been getting bad energy from women. When's the last time you went out on a date?
I never been out on a date.
When's the last time you ever actually asked a woman out on a date?
Never asked a woman out on a date.
How can you get bad energy from women if you've never even asked them anything?
I don't think you need to ask them to know how a woman is feeling. I'm talking about the day-to-day.
We slow down. I say, when's the last time you asked a woman on a date? You said never. So how are you getting bad energy from women if you've never asked them for anything? And you said, I don't think you need to ask them on a date to know you're getting bad energy. Please explain.
Is you have men who are upset because they have been divorced or they're paying child support. They are joining with the men who have not had any success with women. So you have the incels joining with the angry men to create this manosphere.
Basically, just the eye contact out there. I'm a guy who believes in choosing signals, and I never get those.
Hold on. You don't get to believe in choosing signals. That's some YouTube shit. You 20 years old. Tell me about when you were 16, 18, and why you didn't approach a woman. Let's get there right now. Tell me about when you stepped to a woman and she rejected you.
Wow, the 80-20 rule is real.
I never actually asked them, but I've opened up to a conversation.
There you go. You never actually stepped to a woman. The problem ain't women. The problem is you. You expect a woman who's got plenty of options, to send you choosing signals over the alpha males and select males. You don't think you should have to go in there and compete for them. Why would a woman choose you when she got better options?
I feel like I'm a decent option.
You may be decent, but you're not better. And that's why I'm doing this show, to show you guys how you're so in your head blaming women for all this stuff. And you can't even tell me the first time you ask the woman out. You won't even risk rejection. That's how soft you are.
A lot of complainers and whiners and guys that would be considered incel, which we'll talk about in a bit here in this MGTOW 2.0, where they no longer were about improving themselves, even though they pretended. They completely rejected women.
How are we supposed to build bricks with this kind of straw as men? You won't even risk asking a woman because what? You don't want to get rejected. Women like men who other women like. Women like men who are sexually experienced. And the only way you're going to get sex, because you're not rich, you're not famous, you're not the dominant alpha male or the super select guy. The only way you're going to end up becoming pre-select is by approaching women.
So women can tell I'm not getting no play?
Anybody, all 462 people in the chat room can tell you ain't getting no play. That's the energy you're getting. Because you're a guy that said you don't think you should have to approach women. They should give you choosing signals.
How many 20-year-olds was Henry?
Hold on. Dude, I was a 20-year-old and I was making far more money than that. In the 80s, where minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. So I need to hear it.
Here's the part that everyone only remembers from this live.
How long? You got a big dick?
Huh?
You have a big dick?
I mean, it's above average. I ain't no Ron Jeremy.
No. I asked you if you had a big dick. I didn't say it was above average.
I don't know what that is, really.
Nigga, you know if you got a big dick or not. Stop the bullshit. Every dude big dick. That's the point. You don't have a big dick. You don't have a big wallet. You're a fat dude. And you got a lot of nerve thinking you should get choosing signals at 5'10" and 300 pounds, making less than $1,000 a month at 20 years old. And women should approach you. What they get, they don't even get a big dick.
This is an article from Technology Review, MIT Technology Review. They talk about a man named Elliot Rodger who went on a shooting spree. Stabbing, shooting, injuring. He killed 6 people and injured 14. This man was a self-proclaimed incel. A group of computer scientists have been tracking the manosphere. And they said, and I quote, "We present a large-scale characterization of the manosphere, a conglomerate of web-based misogynist movements focused on men's issues. Analyzing 28.8 million posts from 6 forums and 51 subreddits, these computer scientists analyzed 28.8 million posts, describing this movement as misogynistic, as I have said. They are charting and following the manosphere."
Now, this actually was a pretty good study to use to actually understand more of the manosphere, to actually see the different parts that make the manosphere and how it evolved and changed, and how it's, the other parts have become popular, like the incel groups. They have become popular based off this group. But it more or less shows the level of misogyny, the level of toxicity, meaning based off of like API word searches from these posts. And so it was really smart how they did it, to actually show the different parts of the manosphere that were toxic, how they shift into these different groups. And yeah, pretty much that. They further go into showing or saying that, later studies to see if, these incel groups have a correlation to these white nationalist groups. Now, I say white nationalist groups because, it's a racial thing, because, people like to put this on black men, but the more radical, more dangerous people of these type of guys, the more radical lies of them typically are part of these white supremacist groups or have white supremacist ideology. The most like a black incel would be is just, a troll on the internet. Granted, I'm not going to discredit it because, there was a lot of, crazy, incel people that you can point to. I'm sure there's a, a small pocket of black incels that will be capable of doing those things. But the study even makes a point of specifically pointing out white supremacists.
I'm going to scroll to the bottom.
Comparing communities. When comparing the different communities, we find that, for both scenarios, forums and subreddits, and measurements, toxicity and misogyny, incels and MGTOW have appreciably higher scores than the remaining communities. For the TRP community, which exists only on Reddit, results are mixed. Considering only the toxicity score, the TRP community yields similar toxicity scores as the MGTOW community, yet in the lexicon anal ISIS, their scores are similar to those of MRAs, which are substantially less toxic. Overall, we can rank communities based on the levels of toxicity and misogyny, with MGTOW, incels and TRP at the top, MRAs in the middle, and PUAs at the bottom. By analyzing the popularity and user activity across several different forums and subreddits, we find that older communities, such as men's rights activists and pickup artists, are becoming less popular and active, while newer communities, like incels and men going their own way, are thriving. Besides simply looking at the activity in each community, we also examined, on Reddit, the user overlap and migratory fluxes. We find that communities in the manosphere shared large amounts of users throughout their history, and that there was substantial migration from older to newer communities. For example, there was a migratory influx of MRA users to MGTOW subreddits, with over 50% overlap in the first 2 years of its existence. Our analysis unveils the magnitude of links between these communities, but also that it is important to consider the manosphere as a more cohesive whole. Some users participate in several different communities simultaneously, and the user base of some communities can be directly traced back to previous older ones. Our analysis indicates that the newer communities in the manosphere, incels, MGTOW, and TRP, are more toxic and misogynistic than the older ones, PUA, MRA, as theorized by previous literature. It is important to stress, however, that this analysis has its limitations. Lastly, it would also be interesting to analyze migra tie-ins between the user bases of manosphere communities to other fringe communities. For instance, perpetrators of hate crimes were associated with both white nationalist ideology and manosphere-related ideas. Wikipedia 2020, 2017. Therefore, it is possible that communities in the manosphere may act as real gateways along a radicalization pathway.
Moving along. This is from the Texas Domestic Terrorism Threat Assessment from the Department of Public Safety in Texas. The involuntary celibate incels, actors blame women and society for their failure to develop intimate relationships.
I said, when's the last time you asked a woman on a date? He said, never. So how are you getting bad energy from women if you've never asked them for anything? And you said, I don't think you need to ask them on a date to know you're getting bad energy. Please explain.
The manosphere promotes and supports violence against women and men. This is from the Texas Department of Public Safety. Are you still with me? Am I reaching?
You're right. You were right.
Most females are murdered by somebody they know. Most men are murdered by somebody they know. But when it comes to women, it's usually a romantic partner. You have this manosphere promoting and supporting violence. I'm not playing with y'all today. We are not here to play. This is Elliot Rodger. This is from the BBC. How a misogynistic killer became an incel hero. They hold him in high regard as a hero, a man who failed. He failed with intimacy, developing relationships. So he went on a killing spree.
Now, based off of the, the evidence that I post in this video, it's clear that, Kevin Samuels doesn't mess with incels. He makes a living or profit of making fun of them in order to reconstruct them to not become the Elliot Rodgers of the world. Now, I don't necessarily think it would be necessary for someone to speak out against Elliot Rodgers, considering that, he's a serial killer and everyone else in the world is like, no, they don't F with him. I mean, it's clear that Kevin Samuels and the space that he's in, they don't even F with those type of people who actually who label themselves as incels. So it's kind of like it's an extreme push to say that, someone who is Kevin Samuels or is like Kevin Samuels would become like an Elliot Rodgers. Now, the thing about this that is, it's fun to poke this out, but the reality of it is that a lot of these type of videos push narratives unknowingly by implicit bias to promote more hateful Black people. If you look at these comments on these videos, just his video alone on it, you can see a lot of negative things just being spewed about Black people in general. I mean, it was crazy. Like, it was one point where I was talking to somebody in the comment section, and she literally said, "Oh, I hope you go out and get." What did she say? Hold on. She said, "I hope you go out and resist arrest." Now, this is another, commenter. Granted, the guy was a jerk. He was, saying some real messed up stuff. But at the same time, you don't call for, police brutality to another person. Granted, for me, I get words hurt. I get the things that people may say are hurtful, but, I'm not going to, let some person get a thrill out of killing someone just because they said something mean about me on the comment section. As much as that person is a jerk, they have a family to go home to, just like you do, or that person did, or just like me, all of us. At the end of the day, we gotta do better at stop, forcing these type of things in this, in this YouTube space. We end up creating so many enemies just by pushing out false narratives. You got one side that's upset because, you're lying about something. You got another side that believes your lie and is defending your lie to the death. And both sides never really win because both sides get frustrated because, people end up throwing insults back at each other. And, again, these are all Black people. Well, I can't even say all Black people. Some of them could be trolls from other people just to cause chaos. But at the same time, it's that crabs in the barrel mentality. It's like, oh, you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back. Vice versa. And eventually someone has to stop. The cycle has to stop. Hopefully with these type of videos, we can break these type of cycles where, we can at least critically look at the things that our content creators are creating and call them out when they may be saying something wrong. It shouldn't just be me. I mean, again, I have nothing against this guy. I like his content. His things that he do generally make sense and, is beneficial to Black men. But again, framing arguments this way, isn't beneficial to Black men. It's not beneficial to anyone. It just continues that hate. Yeah. But again, this is my video. I like to thank everyone that made this video possible. I like to thank everyone in the comment sections. You guys were, really respectful. I got a little spice back, but generally speaking, it's a lot nicer than some of the other comment sections I've been in. I mean, I've been called all types of stuff. People just assume I'm a troll, and I'm coming at this stuff with peace and just objectiveness, so that we can actually progress as a community. And I sincerely believe that. Again, I'm Keegan, and thank you very much for watching my video.